Hello and welcome back to Cartama on the Costa del Sol, and it's a beautiful sunny day in Spain. Now we're going to see the third match of the day. Romania are here against the final team that we haven't seen just yet, Netherlands 11. Well, I expect a lot out of them. I'm sure they'll be keen to impress. The match referee is with Casper Weston, who is a little guest for this coin toss, and the captains from Romania and the Netherlands. Let's go over there now for the coin toss for match 3.
Oh, thank you. Nice. You're cool. Still. Tails is cool. It is still.
What would you like to do, Sebastian? So it's the Netherlands 11 that win the toss. Their captain, Sebastian Brandt, had no hesitation in electing to bat. Well, he probably saw what Austria did to Romania this morning, where they put 195 runs on the board. Look, I don't know if we'll see this many, but I do know they'll give it a shake. They've got a very good opening combination. Musa Ahmed, well, he made 100 in the ECS just a couple of weeks ago, and Boris Khole will be opening up with him. Look, looking forward to seeing the bowling of Vivian Kingma. A lot of people say he's the fastest bowler in this group, so we'll see him in the second half of this match. Romania, though, they never got a chance to settle, did they, after chasing that massive score in the first match of the day. They'll be expecting a lot more out of their top order, and probably Taranjit Singh, I think, is the man who has to click if they're going to be competitive this week. So let's go over to the commentary box. The news from the toss is that the Netherlands have won. They'll be batting first, and Michael McCann is joining me for this one. Welcome to you, Michael, and let's get ready for Game 3.
Thank you very much, Vinny Sandhu, and welcome along once more to the sun-kissed Cartama Oval in the south of Spain as we kick into the third game already of Group B action here. Umpire Shub and Gooch on the way out to the middle, followed by Romania having lost that coin toss and being asked to do what they had to do this morning with limited success, it must be said. Bowling first. Plenty of eyes on Pavel Florin as well, of course. He became something of a sensation from the 2019 European Cricket League. Those are your team sheets. It is, interestingly, for the vast majority of this Netherlands 11, the first ever match of T10 that they've played for club or country or even a practice game. But there's a lot of intelligent, excellent, top-level Dutch club cricketers in this side, including players that have represented the full national team or the Dutch A team at points. So we do expect they'll be very, very strong. Meanwhile, Romania, well, they already have an emphatic defeat against them in this competition. Austria piling up 195 for 4, and defeating them by 89 runs. Dharmendra Manani is ready to bowl the first ball of this game. Musa Ahmed on strike. The big hitting left-hander. Boris Gully at the non-strikers. We are, of course, in the power play. And it looks like Romania are going for their 2 out as cover point and square leg. Doesn't hand much room for error for Manani if he is to bowl full at all. All set and ready to get off and underway. Romania hoping to avoid another long 10 overs in the field as they had this morning when Rasmal Shival smashed 96 against them and almost hit the first international T10 100. That's a decent enough start for Romania. Slight misfield allows the single, direct hit. Very nice bit of work from Rajesh Kumar, but Ahmed Dadoui comfortably made his ground. Of course, the Netherlands in action all across the world at the moment between their men's first team, their A team, so known as the Dutch Lions, and the under-19s, and yet they're still able to send a very strong squad to this European Cricket Championship, which tells you a lot about the depth in Dutch cricket right now. Gordy gets his first runs, or run, to be precise, of this tournament. Maurice Corley, who's just 20 years old, but he's just finished his first season as captain of Hague Cricket Club, one of the best around in the Netherlands, and the very fact that he's got that honour tells you a lot about the young man's talent. Straight back forward defensive from Musa Ahmed, and in the blink of an eye, Manani's Managed to get through 3 balls here and conceded just 2 runs. Remember, of course, it is one of these 5 teams that won't make it to the group finals on Friday. So again, Ahmed just a touch early on it. Skips through for a single, and it's already the second direct hit of the innings from Rajesh Kumar at mid-on. It was too little, too late, but impressive work nonetheless. Good intent, one might say. Romania desperate to show they better than that big defeat this morning against Austria. It's a tough start for them, playing the 2 group favourites in succession. And he's putting together a very nice first over here. He again has to settle for a single. Could well be a boundaryless first over if he can get through this last ball. And he has got through this last ball without being hit for a boundary, so that's a lovely confidence-boosting start for the Netherlands. For Romania, I beg your pardon, against this Netherlands 11, who are 4 without loss at the end of that very quiet first over. Conditions in Khartoum are lovely for cricket. It may be a touch on the warm side, even when the clouds are appearing just to get rid of that sunlight somewhat. It's still very, very humid. I know last week that was a feeling around maybe that it was something of a natural advantage for host Spain, that they were maybe somewhat more accustomed to these conditions than, say, players from Sweden or Norway. It's Rajesh Kumar, who hit the stumps twice in the first over with direct hits. He's going to bowl the second over of the innings. It's a nice looking shot, and it's managed to nutmeg the fielder. The Netherlands 11 get their first boundary. Not the best bit of fielding. And Boris Gorley opens his boundary account for this European Cricket Championship. Just a touch too full. And a nice looking on drive. Probably shouldn't have gone for 4 though, in truth. Full toss. And that is a brilliant stop, trying to atone for the misfield from the previous ball. Well, that is one way to make up for an error. Straight into the action from the very next delivery. I really feel like he's missed out here, but one man who rarely misses out on being part of the fun is back alongside me, Vinny Sandy.
How much is that what cricket's like? You miss the easy one and stop the really difficult one. That was an excellent stop by Samuela.
Skied up. Should be out. It is out. Held on by Nadi Gotler. And Romania, the big underdogs in this game, have made a sterling start. Musa Ahmed, who hit a century in European Cricket Series action just a couple of weeks ago in the Netherlands, is gone early on. And the Dutch are 9 for 1.
Yeah, it's an important one, isn't it? And we know that Musa Ahmed, if he gets going, he can be an unstoppable force. But this is a good catch by Nadi Gotler. Had plenty of time to think about it. He knew the gravity of the moment. And although we saw one slip earlier in the over in the field, Romania, they can't afford too many more. But Musa goes for 2. It's 9 for 1. And actually, Michael, I see that Ryan Campbell has popped up in the chat. Well, that's good timing, isn't it? Hello, Ryan. Hope you're going well. We miss you. I know that you're very, very busy with what you're doing, but I'm sure you're watching with interest, and do appreciate your contributions in the chat.
I know there's a lot of players and coaches in Dutch cricket who've got a real eye on what's going on in this tournament, because for all, it seems like there's so many different Dutch men's teams in one form or another in action across the world at different points in time. This is very much a new moment for Dutch cricket, as it is for all of these European cricketing nations. They've never played an event quite like this, the first ever ICC sanctioned international T10 competition. Out to the wicket comes Victor Lubbers, a man whose family have been a huge part of Dutch cricketing history for a long, long time. And he starts with a big 6 down the ground. Well, that's how to announce yourself at an international T10 competition. Victor Lubbers goes straight and hits a maximum.
This is what you call getting your eye in these days. Welcome to 2021. It's Lubbers just smashes this. Great shape, straight through the line, classical stroke. It shows you that the big shots are generally just extensions of actual cricketing shots. That was a beautiful straight drive.
Lubbers this time kicks along the carpet. Direct hit could have been out. Instead, the throw is a bit wild from Samiola. It's actually very well backed up to avoid any buzzers.
Well, he actually had more time than this because it was hit so hard to him, and Lubbers went with a hit. Probably had time even to try and bounce it to the bowler. And you see he just throws and doesn't even make the screen.
One bounce four, nice clean hit, and he's into double figures. And the Netherlands 11 just starting to tick here.
Yeah, and Corley is on the walk here. He knows he just has to get it over the infield. Not too worried about hitting it all the way. That's a nice bit of contact. I think they're just finding their way here. This is what I expected from the Netherlands, but I'll tell you what, if they hit their straps, it'll be good to watch.
Comes down the track this time, but then just pushes it for a quick single. Yeah, they're a curious team. Certainly no shortage of cricketing talent, that's without doubt. But as they were all telling me on the bus on the way in, pretty much none of them have played a game of T10 before. In fact, Musa Ahmed, who we mentioned, had hit that ECS 100. He's very much the exception rather than the rule. Oh, playing this nicely bowled. I think he might have just pulled his bat inside the line of that one, Lubbers. Regardless, this is good from Romania, who are already showing that they've learned lessons from what happened against Austria earlier in the day. And as one of the underdogs in the competition, that's all you can ask of them, really.
They've also brought two new players in. So Manani is into the side.
Smashed straight. And, well, it looks to be wide of long off, who actually makes a brilliant stop coming around Rajesh Kumar. He's been dynamite in the field so far. 2 direct hits. And now this effort, one-handed.
Great stuff by Raj. Go Gadgetam. And, yeah, certainly a Romania team that are keen to impress. And they have had a long meeting, and they only got one more game today.
Straight back and dropped. Is it onto the stumps? Well, I think he's run out at the bowler's end. To me, instinctively, it looked like the bat was in the air.
He's out. I'm sure he's out. We'll see this again.
So unlucky for Victor Lubbers.
He might have got back. He might have got back. Initially, I thought he was no chance of getting back. The umpire didn't really have a prayer. I think he probably gets back. That's my guess. He's almost back. Yep, he's fine. Well done. Well, I'm not a good umpire from this distance. But, we'll continue on.
This time just worked away for 1.
Great awareness to be able to get back. I mean, it was a difficult chance. Does take us to the end of the power play.
It's a very good power play. Just away through a couple point for 1. I mean, you're quite right to mention the figures. I think it was one of those games where I don't think anybody apart from maybe Vasu Saini, who's 2 for 27 off 2, comes out of that particular game against Austria with much credit. Maybe one of those days where if you were a club cricket team, you'd just sort of raise it from the scorebook if you could. I know some teams, they put the results on Play Cricket or a version of it across the world that logs and tracks your results. One of those days where maybe if you get smacked about in a friendly game, I have seen it on the odd occasion, people deciding maybe we'll just leave this one out of the digital scorebook of modern cricket.
For sure.
Too short from Taranji. Oh, but he's picked up a wicket, caught on the square leg rope. Nicely taken by Ijaz Hussain. And the Netherlands 11 are struggling just a bit here. They've lost a second wicket now. Victor Lubbers gone for 9 off 6, 27 for 2.
Yeah, so Taranji gets the wicket in the end. And Romania, they need to take their chances, that's for sure. I mean, might be their best chance against the Netherlands 11 because the Dutch are playing their first game of the tournament. So they do hold on to this chance. And second wicket falls, it's 27 for 2.
You're quite right. You would imagine that this Netherlands team will get stronger as the tournament goes on. The vast majority of them have never played a T10 match. For now, though, disappointing start for Victor Lubbers, who's family have a long history in Dutch cricket. His dad, his brothers as well. So the first ever player in the Netherlands to get himself a personal gear sponsor, which he sorted out himself as an 18-year-old. So a bit of a hustler, Victor Lubbards. And speaking of 18, out comes number 18 for the Netherlands, Navjit Singh. Talented young batsman who's played for the Dutch under-17 team and the Dutch A team as well. Short. Can't quite find the gap. Didn't hit it cleanly. Navjit Singh is off the mark. Navjit Singh, a man with both Dutch and Punjabi roots. He's known as something of maybe more of a strike rotator than necessarily a big hitter, and that will be interesting to see how these Dutch players adjust to T10. Guided away and just about through for the quick single. Well, Romania have been really sharp in the field here. Credit to them after that very damaging defeat to start off their ECC campaign. They're really impressing here. End of Taranjeet's over. He's conceded just 5. So 29 for 2 after 4. I think if you're Romania, you're really happy with this. This is a great start.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you know, it's all about taking your chances. And if you miss them, I think you come back to rue them more often than not. Sometimes the universe is kind and it gives you another one. But we saw Taran, he could have had 2 wickets in that over, really. But it's wonderful to have all of you and all of our Dutch viewers. Hello to you if you're just joining us. There's plenty more cricket coming. And it's good. And still 2 matches after this today. Michael, yeah, like you said, I think it'll take the Dutch a bit of time to get adjusted. But once they do, I think it'll be good viewing.
It's definitely the best time to be playing the Netherlands 11, you'd think, as they adjust to T10, but it hasn't taken long for that man to do so. Boris Hawley's looking in really, really good nick here. It's just too short. He rocks back and smashes that through deep backward, fine leg for 6.
Yeah, shot. So this is Vasu Sayani. I actually prefer Vasu probably bowling at the death, because he's one bowler that can jam in those Yorkers. I feel sometimes when he comes in, either in the power play or in the middle overs, he bowls kind of length that good batsman can drive him out of the park. But what a great start.
He's a man of my heart, Vasu Sayani, because his journey to end up playing for Romania is truly incredible. He was working in India in finance. He had a work trip to Romania that was a week long in 2012, where he happened to meet the love of his life through work. 4 years later, they married in India. A year later, moved to Romania.
She was in the chat this morning, Alexandra.
And then, having moved there, thinking, well, that's the end of me playing cricket, found Cluj Cricket Club. In his first season, was player of the match in 2 finals, has gone on to help Cluj dominate Romanian cricket. Well, that is a nice delivery from Sayani. Singh unable to make contact. One of many times in this situation where we see a love story sort of bring a player into a particular country. Of course, been qualified for a long time on residency now for Romania. It's another very clever cutter, and it's actually confused the keeper as well, and that's what's enabled them to get through for 1. Nabi Gotler just not able to pick this one up.
It's good bowling. It's his over-spinning, slower ball. Does jump on the batsman. That makes it hard to drive. Romania have a real opportunity here.
I mean, this would be a huge scalp. Netherlands side was seen as one of the tournament favourites. That will be a wide. Umpire's very consistent in week 1 that pretty much anything touching the blue line's given, and this was clearly outside of it, so no real cause for any kind of complaint. We know that par is probably around the 125 mark. It's hit hard, but straight at long on. Good start to his ECS campaign for the Boris Hawley. Bit of a natural leader. Both of his parents were cricketers. His mum played for HCC, his dad for RBS. He's born and raised at the cricket ground, the man's exact words. Near enough, literally. That time he's watching, seeing unable to put bat on ball. That's just inside the wide lines. It's a good over from Vasuseni. Romania are keeping up the pressure. And the Netherlands 11 are well behind where they'd want to be at this point. Now 39 for 2 after 5.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see, no matter what they're chasing, how the Romanian batting responds, because they will have to chase again. They've been pretty disciplined, only one wide and one by so far through the first half of the innings. But Romania, when they were chasing a massive score in the first match of the day against Austria, they were chasing 196 for victory.
Sitfova starts with a single for that's again good bowling from Taranjeet Singh, who's come back well after pretty much like every Romanian bowler getting a fair bit of tap in that thrashing against Austria. Again, just struggling to find the boundaries here.
Let's say hello to Andrew File, who's in the chat. We saw him playing in the ECS in the Netherlands, and he's just talking about how it's a very different mindset required in T10. And again, with these dynamics, I think you're seeing that at the moment.
One boundary in the last 19 balls. Yes. That is not something I expected to be saying about the Netherlands 11. That won't be one either. You can see Romania have had a real think about what went wrong against Austria. It's a big contrast from that game to this one.
Yeah,
deserve all the credit for it.
Yeah, cricket's a confidence game. I don't care who you are.
Swipe and a miss. A bit too early on it that time. Taranjeet Singh just struggling to find his timing here.
Yeah, just early on that one, wasn't he? That's a good change of pace. I think we didn't see a lot of variation from the Romanian bowlers in the first match, but they've been a lot better this time.
Well, that's finally broken the run. It is a desperately needed 6. Boris Hall is carrying this Netherlands 11 innings at the moment, and that's going to help.
Yeah, this one's absolutely nailed. Kind of a challenge length is what I'd call it. He challenges him, say, go on, drive it out of here if you can. Well, he drove that one like a Ferrari. That one was out of here. Nice shot.
Need a lot more where that came from.
Max O'Dowd and Scott Edwards in the chat, both of them. Scott Edwards just telling the batsmen they should just sweep everything.
Well, that is a slog sweep. Oh, and it's dropped. It's dropped, and it will go for 4. It goes into the rope as well, just to add insult to injury for Sivakumar Perialwa. And that's a fortuitous way for the Netherlands 11 to get past the 50 mark. They are 53 for 2 after 6 overs, and they're riding their luck somewhat.
Yeah, that's Perialwa down there, and this one was curving towards him. It wasn't an easy catch, I don't think, because of the trajectory of the ball. And then even worse, it rolls into the rope. So they have let a few go, haven't they, the Romanians? They're still not a bad position at all. They're 53 for 2 now, up 6 over Netherlands 11.
You do wonder, though, if Boris Hooley goes on here to really cash in, how costly that drop could end up proving to be. And that will be just 1. 2's something of a rarity on this field. Work tidily done by Taranjeet Singh, who took 1 for 18 from his pair of overs.
Yeah, so just whether they can keep this up. Hussein's got his role to play. He'll probably get 2 overs here.
It's left alone and is wided by umpire Shub. So they've got 3 overs to complete after this one. And you would imagine that Saini, Kumar, and then Hussain will bowl those last 3 in one particular order or another. Saini probably at the death, given his Yorkers. Could be out. Oh, and he misses. Well, Boris Hawley's living a real charmed life. They take a second on the overthrow and scamper through. Oh, Ijaz Hussain has managed to miss there. It wasn't easy, but he did have plenty of time to set himself.
He had immediate buyer's remorse when he called yes and ran on that. That was the previous one, but yeah, another opportunity missed. I still think the 100's on here for the Dutch.
The ground for 1. I mean, if they go at 2 a ball from here, and they will get past the 100 mark, and we know that scoring at 2 a ball here is perfectly doable. Right now, it's the Romanian dugout, who are much the happier, and why not?
Which is one he probably had time to get closer to the stumps. He was that far out. Holly had pretty much given up.
Slow ball. Well, that is the oldest trick in the book, the slower ball grunt, and Ijaz Hussain has pulled it right out of the book to perfection here.
Yeah, well, see how when your uncle's bowling to you at Christmas, isn't it? I know you probably don't get much cricket in the Northern Hemisphere at Christmas, but the old grunt slower ball.
Oh, swing and a miss, and somehow that's missed the stumps. Well, this is really good from Ijaz Hussain. Just can't find a way to break this run, the Netherlands 11.
We're going to have to get the decibel counter out. That was it. Must have been extra slow ball because it was an extra loud grunt. Now, what do you bowl it again? That's the question. Or do you go back to your stock delivery?
That's a huge grunt, but this time the slow ball is somewhat anticipated. It's hit hard, straight at backward square leg, and that is the end of the over, and the struggles for this Netherlands 11 continue. They find themselves 59 for 2 after 7.
Well, take us through some of the teams here in Group B, because of course we know the 2 qualifiers from Group A, but we've seen all 5 teams now. What do you make of it, Michael?
Well, I know that Romania are above Austria in the rankings, but and I'm not just saying this because of what happened this morning, I felt it even beforehand. To me, the starting 2 favourites to go through are the Netherlands 11 and Austria. Portugal are dark horses. I think they are better than what they showed in that match this morning. And of course, Hungary have already got a win on the board. So it looks like quite an open group, particularly when you factor in that the Netherlands 11, certainly this morning, are not looking at their best. They're clearly still adjusting to the T10 format. Flicked away. So a nice looking shot for 1 by Navjit Singh. He's on to 5 off 11. Used to be an all-rounder, but stopped holding his seamers due to ankle issues. We might see him with his part-time offies as well.
Yeah, we may do. Raj Kumar's back for his second over. He bowled the first.
It's another grunt slow ball, and this time it's a bit of luck for the Dutch. Boris Hawley moves towards his 50 that has held this innings together with a snick through third man.
Yeah, this is a bit of luck, but you make your own luck, and he's stayed there a while now. And he got luck, almost in the zone that he might have been able to make a play on that ball. The result is 4 valuable runs to the Netherlands, who are, look, they're bringing some firepower with the ball as well. So I think even if they do get around that 100 mark, I think they'll fancy themselves to defend it.
Yeah, they've got 2 really good spinners, so we'll see later on, but are both left armers. And a very balanced bowling attack. Umpire Gooch just checking on the condition of the ball, so even if they are a touch undercooked in terms of the score they managed to accumulate, they'll still very much feel like they're right in this game. And why not?
Corey Rucker's in the chat, and plenty more Dutch influence in the chat.
Full toss. He's got away with that. Frustration for Wally, who will feel like he's missed out there.
That's a good ball, though. I mean, it's hard to get the middle about on that ball, the low full toss. Especially if you can bowl at a bit of pace. The batsman generally is a little bit late on them. But, if you're going to miss the Yorker, miss it full, I think.
Shorter. Again, just another single. Well, it does remind me of something I saw Ravichandran Ashwin say quite a few years ago. I know he is a man that has kept his eye on the European Cricket Network. He's been tweeting about it on quite a few occasions in terms of enjoying the drama and sometimes the funnier side of what we see out on the field. He's talked once about bowling 6 different bad balls in an over. Slow ball. That again is just a single as a way of keeping the batter guessing as to what might be coming up, and that being better than bowling 6 consecutive stock balls that become predictable.
Raj Kumar can't bowl at either end of the innings. We do see more often up front.
Full toss. Again, it's missed out on. So that's a pretty decent set given harem scarum nature of T10. Which Kuma concedes 22 from his 2. Netherlands 11 with just 2 overs left. 68 for 2 as Boris Hawley's going to be allowed a drink on here, which is understandable. It is very rare that we'll see this, but the match referee Rob Kemming has done so because Hawley's been out there for 8 overs and it is very hot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the point was made in the chat, and I agree. You know, we're concentrating a lot about the Netherlands 11, probably because we haven't seen them yet. There's big expectations about them. But credit to Romania. I mean, they took an absolute pasting in that first game, and they know that they're better than that in the field. So at the moment, what we're seeing is a team that is really G'd up for a good performance, and they've had a chance to settle already.
They just want to prove their point, and they certainly are. It's a classic thing when you see a game like this where the underdog is punching above their weight, that they certainly deserve their share of the credit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There was just a few things in the field they'd still want to work on, but for the most part it's been good.
Short. And again, we will have to wait to get to his 50.
It's a different mindset on how they're going to get an overthrow. This is sloppy, but still he'll move to 48. It's a different mindset. You're taught your whole life to value your wicket, and it's not about not valuing your wicket. It's just you have to take calculated risks all the way through the innings. That's the difference. That's the main difference in T10. And that you need to be okay with the idea that there's a chance you'll get out in the name of scoring quickly.
Oh, Hawley tries to get to his 50 in style, and he is going to get to his 50 in style. What a good knock from the 20-year-old. Captain of Hague Cricket Club, and now on the big stage in the national team colours. And he's taking the Dutch lines to a decent total here. He brings up his 50, 52 of 26 balls with the ramp, his 5th 4 to go with 2 sixes.
Well, he certainly hasn't had too much time required to adjust. He's going at 2 a ball, has made the most of a couple of opportunities that he's been given.
With just a single. They have struggled for boundaries, 3 sixes and 5 4s in the innings.
I hate to say it, I think you've got to pull Navjit Singh at this stage. It just is capable, it just hasn't happened for him in this game. And just get someone out there.
Swung away by Navjit Singh, will get one. To be clear, because this is something we've talked about before on air in certain situations, do you mean rotation for the next game? Or do you mean
I think I'd retire him out. I'd say, it's just nothing against him personally, but it's a situation.
Unable to make contact that time. So end of the 9th over, and that's a good pair of overs from Hussain. He concedes just 15 from those 2, and with just 1 over of this innings left, Netherlands are threatening to fall, are going to fall, you'd imagine, short of 100 mark.
Seems like it.
Threatening to post one of the lowest scores of this tournament so far, despite the excellent efforts of Hawley.
So let me just be clear. I mean, you can retire a batsman out at any stage. There's a couple of reasons I don't think it's done more often, and one is it seems a slight on the batsman. But I mean, I think if it's something you discuss as a team, you say, look, sometimes it's just not your day, and you've got 8 wickets in hand here, and really, Navjit Singh hasn't ever been able to get going in this innings.
Cutter skied up, and it's caught. 77 for 3, and that is the end of Navjit Singh, who's really struggled. He goes for 9 of 16 balls, and his vigil is ended, and Romania's excellence continues.
Yeah, it's well held. So, Hawley, without him, you worry about where this innings might be at. He becomes the 3rd wicket to fall. He goes for a well-made 53. Good start to his tournament. It's 77 for 3.
So the end of Navjit Singh.
Oh, it's Navjit. Oh, there we go. I put my glasses on now. But
Rico can take you to the optician like he did over the weekend. 7 dot balls in that 16 and no boundaries either. So far from ideal in a T10 competition. Of
9 singles, 7 dots. Yeah, I mean,
so many of these players adjusting to this format for the first time.
Yeah, look, I think with the retired out discussion, I mean, there's something that I think if you talk about as a team, you realise it's not a slight on you personally or anything, but it's just Okay, I think we're going to see more of it, especially when we're seeing such high-scoring games. If you have someone that's not able to score run a ball in a particular game, sometimes you're better off sacrificing the wicket and giving someone else a chance.
Here's the Dutch skipper, Sebastian Bratt. Well, he doesn't take long to get going. His first ball has been absolutely smashed over long off for 6. Well, that is how to announce yourself at a T10 tournament.
Oh, that's one way to do it. A slower ball from Saini. And tees it up and gets it out of here. Once again, we see the batsman hitting a 6 off their very first ball in T10 international cricket.
He's known as one of the most dedicated players across the Netherlands, also one of their best fielders, which we'll see later on. He's good with the ball too, so you can see why he's been given the chance to skipper this side. And he goes again, and he's got another 6. Well, that's going to take some fetching as well in towards the fan zone, fielded by one of the Hungary players, and Bratt has 2 from 2.
Well, don't give up on that 100 just yet, Michael. And this is what I'm talking about. I mean, it's one thing. It's one thing to keep the number 3 in there, the number 4, pardon me, Navjit Singh in for so long. I feel like it has cost him some runs in this innings.
Trying to make up for lost time now. Short, nicked, and he gets lucky. 6-6-4 for Bratt. This definitely wasn't where he meant this one to go, but they'll take it nonetheless.
Yeah, well, that moves them up into the 90s. And, well, I guess we'll see if their bowling's as rusty. But, yeah, 6-6-4, making things happen.
We know generally that it's easier to adjust to bowling in T10 than batting. The pressure of trying to hit pretty much every ball for 4 or 6 is tough to take, maybe if you're new to the format and you're not a naturally aggressive player. Clever slow ball. That means that Netherlands will be 94 for 3 with 1 ball to go. So if this ball goes out of the park, they will get to exactly 100.
The other reason I think batsmen don't get retired out is because people, captains, coaches, they just think, oh, they're probably just 1 shot away from finding their touch. They're just 1 shot away. But if you keep going down that rabbit hole, you can end up with a situation where it never gets called. So that's why I think it doesn't happen more. All right, last ball innings, 94. A 6 will get him to 100.
That will be at least 1, and they will come back for 2, and they'll get 2 as well. So the Netherlands 11 have finished on a somewhat under par, 96 for 3, 55 not out for Boris Hawley, and you do imagine that were it not for his excellence, they'd be in even more of a pickle. So the underdogs Romania will fancy their chances. They need 97 to win for a big upset.
Well, the Romanians, they were taken to the cleaners, but they're back, and they're back with a vengeance. And who'd have thunk it here in match number 3 in Group B. Our first chance to get a look at the Netherlands 11, but the Romanian Pavel Florin, he was out there saying, well, you better watch out for us because we're here, we've arrived. And there were a couple of bits of sloppy fielding. I like their attitude, Romania. They had a good attitude, had a good feeling about them, and they certainly didn't take a backward step in the end, holding Netherlands to a double-digit score. A result that I think you and me included were a little bit surprised, but certainly there were shades of what the Netherlands were capable of, and Lubbers got off the mark with a bang. It was Hawley, though, who made all the running. His 55 not out was crucial in this Netherlands final total of 96.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was really expecting to see the game at this stage at the midway point when the Netherlands 11 won the toss and chose to bat first, but that's where we are. Ranjit Singh bowled really nicely. This was one boundary that he conceded from his pair of overs. Good luck, Boris Hawley dropped there out at square leg. Shame like the stumps would have been out and missed, and even with their comparatively low total, Romania actually missed out on opportunities to even further restrict the scoring, which gives you an idea of just how much this Netherlands 11 struggled. Ranjit Singh holding on to that catch to get rid of Navjit Singh, who had a tough debut, just 9 off 16 balls. Sebastian Bratt took no time at all to get going, 6-6, and then a 4 as well. He finished up with 17 not out from just 4 balls. So the Netherlands posting 96 for 3 batting first. Boris Hawley the rock around which the innings was built. 55 not out from 29 balls. And apart from he and Thomas Sebastian Bratt, Ahmed, Lovers and Singh all couldn't really get going. Bratt making an excellent 17 not out of 4 balls at the end to help lift them towards that 3 figures mark, but not quite over it. As for the Romanian bowling, well, they conceded almost exactly 100 runs fewer than they did when playing this morning against Austria. Manani into the side with none for 11 on his international T10 debut. Tajid Singh keeping things pretty tight, as did Ijaz Hussain. As Hussaini the most expensive, but wasn't too bad with 1 for 28. So at the midway point of match 3 of Group B, match 27 of the tournament overall, it is the Netherlands 11 who have put themselves in a little bit of trouble here. They've got an excellent bowling lineup, so this is still going to be a very difficult chase for Romania. It'll be intriguing to see whether Romania can cause a big shock here. They might never get a better chance across this week, who knows. Do join us for the run chase very shortly, when it will be 97 to win for Romania against the Netherlands. You're watching the Dream 11 European Cricket Championship. Once again, welcome back to the Cartama Oval for this, the run chase of match 3 of Group B, match 27 of the tournament. And we've potentially got easily the biggest shock of the tournament in prospect here. Romania against the mighty Netherlands have managed to keep them to a double-digit score, which I know many people were not expecting that. Quite the opposite. They were thinking, after Austria piled up 195 against Romania this morning, that it could be a big, big total. And in fact, the Netherlands scored 99 fewer than what Austria managed against Romania this morning. So big credit to the Romanians. They've come back strong. Now, they've got to see if they can finish off this astonishing win by chasing down 97 to win with the bat for one of the all-time great surprise results. To see if they can do it, yours truly, Michael McCann, is joined once more by Vinny Sandy.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. It's one thing to chase something in the 190s, but I think Romania will fancy the 90s. Gohan Manin, who struggled opening the batting last time, is not in the lineup for this match, so they are going with Taranjit Singh, opening up with the captain, Ramesh Satheesan. I think it's all about the approach here. I think you've got to approach it like you're chasing a big score. You know, if you approach it like you're a bit too carefully, I think they might bat themselves into a hole, Romania. So I still think they need to take risks, take calculated risks. We know there's some fast bowling, but this is one of Vivian Kigma who's going to open the bowling. He's going to bowl the first ball for the Netherlands in T10 international cricket.
Vivian Kigma, a man with the biggest feet in Dutch cricket. We're having a look at now.
Size massive.
Size 14 feet he's got.
What's that in a European? That'd be around 50.
Yeah, exactly. Played Netherlands age groups right since the under-15s.
They are proper clown shoes. They're proper clown shoes that he's got.
Well, that's what I wanted to say.
Krusty the Clown.
We'll see if the guys at Spring Productions can in between the cows.
Yeah, look at these. He's got a bit of the Krusty the Clown hairdo as well. Viv. All right, Krusty. There's your nickname. Didn't take even one ball. All right, here we go. 97 for Romania to pull off the upset.
Not able to get off the mark from the very first ball. Clayton Floyd doing the fielding. The other thing that we'll see later on with Floyd and his partner Julian Demey in regards to spin bowling is they've got two very good slow left arm spinners, and that's going to be very handy indeed. Power play time. They've got a deep backward square leg and a deep third man. They've also got a slip in, which pretty much never saw in week 1. It's a conventional first slip.
Luxembourg occasionally would try it out.
And that first slips into play there. A good diving stop from Boris Hawley, who got Netherlands' first ever T10 international half century earlier on. 55 not out of 29.
Yeah, Kingman's played 6 one-day internationals with the best bowling of 3 for 21. He's also played 9 T20 internationals, so he's very experienced. And I think bowling on the artificial surface is a bit different, though. I think that if you've got good reflexes, I mean, you don't have that variability of the bounce, and you don't see as much movement off the pitch. So it's going to be a good test for Taran Singh to know where he's at.
Short Nicely bowled. That's a good bouncer from Kingma. He's a very confident man, Taranjit Singh. He's something of a superstar of Romanian cricket. I had a bit of a catch-up chat when he got into the hotel last night, having not seen him since the 2019 European Cricket League. I said to him, sort of tough start, Austria and the Netherlands. He was very bullish. He said, well, we're playing the Netherlands' fourth team, was his exact words, which was quite a statement to make. That's nicely bowled and just respected by Taranjit. Now, in isolation, that might sound like something of an insult. I think he meant it as much as anything else, slightly matter of fact, because the men's first team, the A team, and the under-19s are all currently in action in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
But he really felt like they could pull off an upset, and I have to admit, I was slightly not quite so sure of that belief. But look what we're seeing in front of our eyes. They're giving themselves a chance, but they need to get going with the bat.
That's right. They've almost burnt an over here. Kingma.
Swung away by Taranjit Singh. Well, they are off the mark belatedly from the fifth ball of the innings. That was starting to shape up like it could be the first maiden of this ECC, and that's not the way you want to put your name into the history books.
Oh, that's true. That's a decent. See what he can do. Like I say, these double-digit totals, sometimes you can back yourself into a bit of a hole. There is some quality bowling going on for sure, but if you swing the bat anyway, sometimes you get these little edges. You have to take calculated risks. That's what the name of the game is. Sathisan gets to face the last ball, the first.
Comes down the track. Turn down the single through to mid-wicket.
Poor running. You've got to run there because you know Taranjit's taken a while to get going. It's the end of the first over.
And that, I make it, is the best over in terms of runs conceded of the competition so far. Joint best for the couple we saw last week. It goes for just 2 runs. That is outstanding from Kingma. And Romania find themselves in something of a bit of a pickle early on. They've wasted one of the 3 power play overs in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, true. Brian Klein is going to bowl over number 2. Again, they're sticking with pace. Yeah, the reason I thought that was poor running from Sathisan is because I think he wants to strike when Taran's taken a little bit of time to get going. Plus, you just want the run.
Slip is in for Ryan Klein, who's got a very handy locker of different variations. One of the better bowlers in Dutch cricket in that regard. That's why I'd expect throughout this competition he'll bowl 1 in the power play and 1 at the death. Smashed away, and this could be the first boundary of the innings. Well, not quite. That is some astonishingly good fielding from Navjit Singh. I think he's managed to dive and keep this in play. Sebastian Brutt, the skipper, who completes the tag team fielding. Very good work. And it's not the first boundary of the innings. Well, those little moments in a low-scoring game can make all the difference. He didn't have the best time of it with the bat, but that will make him feel a bit better. Huge swipe and a miss. Klein ends up on the floor.
Yeah, just in his follow-through. Look at this one. Sometimes I've seen this. He puts everything into his delivery stride and he can't even stay upright. That wasn't really a footing issue. I think that's just him going for some extra effort, of course. Netherlands trying to bring the fire.
Smash straight, and that is the first 6 of the reply. Well, they're going to need a few more like that from Taranjit Singh to pull off this shock win, but that at least gets them going eventually. A lovely straight hit.
Yeah, this is a good shot. Sometimes the faster you bowl, the faster you disappear. Someone's just right in the slot. Taran goes bang. Important shot.
But a decent amount of this as well. You do sense if they're going to chase this down, they probably need a big contribution from Taranjit Singh. He's in so many ways a leader of this Romania side, even though he's not the captain. It's that guy that if he gets out quickly, comes back into the dressing room, it affects the morale of the rest of the team. That's a lovely piece of bowling from Klein, shaping away. Did mention his variations.
Yeah, so Thiessen, that's only the second ball he's faced. And it's spicy. I think, balling like this, you want to give yourself every opportunity, probably back deep in your crease. The bounce is pretty consistent on this pitch, we know that. Once again, just look at Klein. Just that step after he bowls, he finds it hard to keep his balance.
Well bowled and well played by Mr. Thiessen. It is bowling to plan from Klein, and that's why there is that sweeper out, a deep third man, 11 without loss at the end of the second. It's a better second for Romania. They take 10 from it, which is exactly what they need. Ryan Klein, and he's building his Dutch cricketing portfolio. Last month played 3 games for the Dutch A team against Denmark, and they won all 3 games, and his economy rate across all 3 of them was just 5 runs or so and over, bowling at the top and then at the death in T20. So he'll be very accustomed to this role. And apart from that straight 6, that was a very decent over.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like the captain's going to bring himself on, Sebastian Brandt. Keeping one for Kingma behind, which maybe is a pretty smart option. Keeps your options open. Oh, we know that Kingma looks like Krusty the Clown, but he certainly was no clown with the ball. He has the giant shoes. It's he was very, very impressive. Still has an over up his sleeve. Here's over number 3.
And again, persisting with the general plan the Dutch have gone for. Back of a length, but straying too wide there. Signal by umpire Shub.
Yeah, that maybe catches a tiny bit of the blue. Certainly was touch and go. We have said the umpires are very strict on those ones. Where that blue line intersects with the popping crease, if you get even 1% of the ball over that, they will call it a wide.
Effort ball, just jabbed away for one, thought of shying.
That's good running.
And thought against it.
Good running. It was good backing up and good call. I think Taran realises, okay, he's had most of the strike. There's one more over of this power play. I have to make some hay.
It's gone very, very high.
Oh, good luck.
Chance. Oh, and dropped. And it is kept in play at the very least. Well, it was Clayton Floyd underneath it. That's probably gone as high as we've seen any ball do that stayed in play in this European Cricket Championship. This was really tough running back.
He almost runs out of real estate here. You see, this is Floyd, yeah. He drops it. Well, it's good, quick thinking to stop that one. Navjit Singh does make the stop, so it'll go down as 2, but that was in the air a long time.
Slow ball, and the grunt, and it might well have worked. Oh, it hasn't worked. Well, it's another dropped catch. Taranjit Singh gets a life, and the Dutch have dropped 2 catches in 2 balls.
Yeah, maybe sun's a factor for this one, not so sure. I seem to lose at the last moment. Well, it's tense in that Romanian dressing room at the moment. You see this one, he just got in the right position, and then I heard him say just, oh no, at the end.
Oh, that's a classy shot. 1 man's 4 for the covers. That is absolutely thumped by Thiessen. Just to pour some salt into the wound for the Dutch. Back-to-back drop catches and now a boundary.
Back of the hand, slower ball. And these aren't necessarily dry ball unless they're very full, and that was. And so he just leans on it. And has a nice shot. Tell you what, though, Romania, I think this is the approach they need. They've got a long batting lineup, and they don't want to be too defensive. I think we've seen them already kind of burn that first over. The rate required now, 10.5. You can't get there. You just need that boundary and over. If you do, then I think you've got this under control. But if you don't, and if you lose a bunch of wickets together with no one really scoring, then it's going to be a struggle. But at the moment, all the players out there, they've got 2 hands, they've got 2 arms, 2 legs. They're human beings, and the Dutch have to be nervous.
Oh, there absolutely will be some nerves. I know they were in a very different emotional place when I travelled in on the coach with them. They were buoyant and incredibly excited, but I won't quite be feeling that way now. Short, pulled away nicely by Thiessen, but the backward square leg is out there.
Good field placing there.
So Brutt has just 1 ball to get through from the power play. He's known as one of the most dependable cricketers in the Netherlands, known as having a very good attitude, and that's one of the reasons why they've picked him to captain this side. He's captained his club Hermes for 5 years already now. And straight onto the pads, flicked away nicely, but could be out, is out. Well, they finally managed to hold on to a catch after a couple of drops, and Sebastian Bratt, the skipper, has his first ECC wicket, and it's that key figurehead of the Romania lineup, Taranjit Singh, who's finally run out of luck. 21 for 1 at the end of the power play.
Yeah, well, it's a bit hit and miss, and this was a miss hit. Basically, just flicked it off his toes. I mentioned that was a good field positioning because he's a bit further behind square than I think he'd normally be, but that's also about the pace of Sebastian Bratt. So he had his man just where he wanted him, and so Taranjit, he goes for a score of 13. Unlucky for some, unlucky for him. It's 21 for 1. That's the end of the power play.
Out comes Satwik Nadigotla. Taranjit Singh departing. Hit 1-6, but 13 off 12 wouldn't have been what he'd have taken when he was walking out. Absolutely no doubt. He normally can be such an explosive hitter. Taranjit. Instead, here comes man who is capable. Nadigotla, wicketkeeper batter. And he's going to try and put something together with Sabisin now. The required run rate isn't anything to be terrified about, but you would sense Romania are probably going to need their top order to do a fair bit of this heavy lifting at the target.
Yeah, that's true. Also, it's a great opportunity for these batsmen as well. The bowling is a step up, I think, compared to what they would face domestically. So they get to test their technique at a higher level. Good over by Bratt, though. Picks up the wicket of Taranjit Singh.
Spin into the attack. And the first ball is miscued just over the head of cover, running back. Think of two. Turn it down and mention that the Dutch have got two good slow left armers in their lineup, and we're seeing one of them here in the form of Clayton Floyd. He'll sort of dart the ball in it a bit more, I'd imagine, than Julian Domain. He's got a wider range of variations, very good at mixing up his pace, angles on the crease as well. Plays cover cricket for HCC. Skied up. Could be out. I think he's lost it in the sun, and he has. It's gone over the rope instead for 6. Well, that is a bit of fortune for Romania. It was a really awkward one, and having some strife in the field, the Dutch, it must be said.
It's very bright. Sometimes it's too bright to catch. I think this one is touch and go again. I think it probably just gets over him in the end, regardless.
Yeah, you're right. Nicely bowled from Floyd, who is known as the biggest joker in this Netherlands team. He's a man who likes a laugh and a giggle, but he's got his serious face on now. They need him to help spin this game their way. That certainly helped. He didn't pick that one, Nadigotla, at all.
I think it's a good bowling change. Nadigotla is normally an opener for his club side Cluj. We actually saw him at the European Cricket League representing Cluj Cricket Club back in 2019. So I think he's more comfortable against pace, especially early in his innings. So although we did get that 6, it was a bit of a streaky one. And this has been a good over from Floyd.
Holds that one back and gets him. Well, the pressure has been building, and Nadigotla's 6 and out in this over. Clayton Floyd has his first wicket of the ECC.
Yeah, so it's kind of what I predicted. I think Nadigotla, he likes pace coming onto the ball. This one just comes in off the seam, I think, if anything. I just think it's not really a doozer up per se, but it moved that way and beat the bat of Nadigotla, and he's got to go. Put a line under him in the end. He scores just the 6, 2 wickets down. It's 28 for 2.
Samuel heads out for Romania in a bit of trouble in this run chase. Confirmation there, Nadigotla gone. His only scoring shot, that 6 just about got over the head of the Dutch skipper. Now he's bowled by Clayton Floyd. So the required run rate, again, still isn't really the issue, but concern for Romania will be batting is maybe a touch top heavy, and it's that top order that are steadily being removed.
Let's have a look at this one. I don't know if it's one that comes out of the front of the fingers, but it's certainly moved back significantly. And one more ball for Floyd. I mean, they'd want to be. I mean, that 10 and over is a good indicator. They're just about 10 behind where they want to be at Romania, but they can make that up with a couple of swings of the bat.
Samiola facing. Never played a T20 international for Romania. This is his first chance in his country's colours. He's got off the mark there from the last ball of a successful over from Floyd. He concedes 8. And after 4 overs, Romania are 29 for 2, which is in fact the exact same score that the Netherlands were on at this stage of the run chase. So in that sense, they're of course right in this game. They are chasing a sub 100 total, and the upset is still on. They probably just need a partnership, don't they?
Well, they do, and they need to keep moving the ball forward, keep moving the innings forward. I think that's the risk, is that you're going to stall because maybe you're a bit defensive. Like I said, I think the bowling is a step above what they face domestically, so it's a great test, but you have to be brave. You have to be brave. They've got such an opportunity here, and look, if you're going to lose wickets, fine, but lose them going for runs.
And how they play the spin is going to be key as well, because this is the other man who's part of the spin duo. He's a bit of a different proposition, even though he's also a left armer. Julian Demey, very tall. That first one is just chipped by Ulla away for 1. Julian Demey, who is a fully fledged Dutch international, made his debut against Nepal, played 2 T20Is against them, and also played against Malaysia in those matches earlier on this year. That time it goes for 1. His height means that he's a very different option to Floyd. He gets a lot more bounce. He was asking me on the way in about just how much bounce he might be able to get off his AstroTurf wicket.
I think it'll be a tough proposition because of that factor.
Quicker ball and the grunt as well.
And Samiola is a T10 selection. You know, he's a man that's here because of how he performed in the ECS, and he's a big hitter. He's not going to die wondering.
Track 2 once again can't make contact, and well, this is the beauty of the ECC. What it brings together, a player who was playing in T20 International just a few months ago up against someone who's just got their first chance to play for their country because of the ECS. Smashed away by Ulla. He's got this one in the gap, so after a couple of times where he couldn't make contact, makes up for that somewhat with a boundary.
Yeah, I was going to say before this ball, he seems to be losing his shape and trying to hit everything away to the leg side. That's what he does get away with. I don't think you're going to see a lot of turn from Demey. He's just going to slide the ball into you. So, okay, that's fine, but you have to get your body outside the line of the ball if you're going to open up that leg side. And that was a welcome boundary.
So almost at the halfway point of this game. And Demey organising his field. He will be at the 2022 European Cricket League. One of the key members of the bowling department for RBS Kruijnhut. Be there as part of a double Dutch representation with the defending champions, VOC Rotterdam. Again, it's a grunt as well, some neat wicket keeping too. 35 for 2 at the end of the 5th. A very good start from Demey. He concedes just 6.
Yeah, really good over. He's just got the one boundary, but a lot of dots in there. Foot stayed home. Yeah, so Romania, they just needed an over to settle the nerves. They go, 15 to 20, something like that. We've seen them time and time again. But how good is the ECL going to be in 2022? You're going to have 30 teams. It's a similar structure to this, just longer. It'll be 6 groups of 5. So it won't just have an A, B, C. We'll have A, B, C, D, E, F.
And then a finals week.
Yeah, and only one team from each week will go through to the finals week. So a 7-week tournament should be great.
Floyd back for his second. Can't stop that off his own bowling, but Thiessen will only get 1. He moves into double figures, but 10 not out off 9 is not quite going to cut it, even with a below par target to chase.
These 2 overs are crucial. They're going to get the spinners, and they've got to put themselves in a position to win the game. They don't want to be chasing too many off that last 18 deliveries.
Swipe and a miss from Floyd, who there shows his ability to turn the ball away from the right-hander. as well.
So this is the one. This is the one where there's a big gap over extra cover. The long off is very straight, and he just needs to hold his shape and hit through the line of the ball.
Short, skied up, caught and bowled chance, and taken on the juggle. So Clayton Floyd has a second wicket at this ECC, and the Dutch are holding their nerve, having been, it seems, given a real scare by the underdogs Romania. They're not out of the woods yet, but they're getting themselves into a winning position, 36 for 3.
Once again, you see all the weight going to leg side. It's just sliced up in the air. That might be a blessing in disguise because Samuela didn't really seem to have the answers to the spinners. Did hit that one boundary, but I mean, you're going to get another over and a half of spin. So I think you need to send someone in there who's confident taking on the slow men. And so Romania lose the third wicket, 36 for 3.
Well, this is a good example of where maybe having something of a flexible approach to your batting order is worth considering. If you've got someone who's maybe lower down but does like hitting against spin, do you send them up and get them out there now? 6 off 8
for sure.
Samuela.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Michael. I think that you need to have a horses for courses approach. I mean, sometimes you're even looking even down to the over. Okay, we have 3, 4, 5 balls left in this over. Who do I think can take on the game straight away? So I've gone for Sivakumar Periawa now. Of course, even though they crossed, that's irrelevant now because we've got the rule where if a ball's caught by a fieldsman, the batsman incoming has to go back to where the outgoing batsman hit the ball from.
Certainly able to jab this away for one, having something of a sighter Periawa. I know that VOC Rotterdam at the 2019 European Cricket League had that exact approach in the dugout. They'd often have 4 or 5 people padded up. If it was an off-spinner who took a wicket on the first ball, the over Piers Fletcher would go out. If it was a medium pacer, it would be Walter Schoenheim. And if it was a fast bowler, it would be Corey Rutgers. That was the kind of approach they took in their middle order. Able to flick that one away. Of course, if you were a VOC batter in the middle order, you didn't necessarily get a lot of batting in that tournament because of Messrs O'Dowd and Edwards, who hogged the batting for all 10 overs of the final. Comes down the track, misses it by miles, and the keeper's made a mess of it as well. And I think in the end he is out because he's had to scramble Asad Zulfikar to pick the stump out of the ground. Well, no one necessarily comes out of this with a huge amount of credit in some ways, apart from Floyd, who picks up his third wicket, 37-4 at the end of the 6th.
I think there was still one bail on, so he didn't even have to do this. Let's have a look. Makes a meal of it, up the head, knocks off one bail, so he could have just knocked the other one off. Well, he did anyway. There's quick thinking from the keeper. You see? So here, you have to remove the stump completely or knock the other bail off. And, well, he does both in the end. So Satheesh, I think, knowing the situation was spiralling out of control, went for the big shot. And, unfortunately for him, he couldn't catch up with it. That's the end of 6 overs. 37 for 4.
Well, another one's gone for Romania, who really do need something of a minor miracle now if they are to pull off this upset. They gave themselves every chance, chasing a modest 97 to win. The Netherlands are starting to show their class with the ball. They're quite literally spinning a web. To Maybach once more. It's a horrible delivery. Full toss.
Remember, 19 came off the last over of the Netherlands innings as well, so they could have been chasing a lot less. Remember, they lost that wicket and Sebastian Brutt came to the crease and which went bang, 6-6-4. So, I mean, they could have been chasing something like early 80s. But even then, that's looking a little bit out of the realms of possibility for Romania.
Short and missed out on. Yeah, those 17 not out of 4 balls from 17 runs of 4 balls from Sebastian Brutt look all the more important now in the context of the game. I would be really surprised if we see this Netherlands side post another sub-100 score in this tournament. Nice shot, just using the pace, well fielded on the bounce by Floyd. Had a real role in spinning this game towards the Dutch. 3 for 10 off his 2. That is already one of the best bowling figures we've seen of the tournament. We saw Azam Khalil take the first international T10 4-fer last week. Still haven't seen anyone take a 5-fer. Steps down the track, just jabbed away. This will be really frustrating for Romania, assuming they do end up falling short here, because I know they'll feel like this was a really good chance to take down one of the big guns. Smashes that straight long on and taken. Another one bites the dust for Romania, 39 for 5. They've just got no answer to the diet of spin they're being fed right now. Perialwa goes, and it's Julian Demay's first ECC wicket.
Yeah, Demay's earned that as well. He's got less than run a ball. And now we're seeing Netherlands settling a little bit. And I think what we're seeing is to compete at this level, you can't just put half a game in. You know, Romania, they were up and about. Yes, they were 2 or 3 that they missed in the field, but they had a good attitude, they had a good energy about them. But I just think they've looked a little bit, I don't know what the right word is. There's a sense of apprehension about their batting in this innings, but also, you know, take nothing away from the bowling, which has been spot on right now. I mean, they're not even quite going a run a ball in this innings. It's 40 for 5.
You just wonder whether the pressure of the occasion has got to them. Remember when they went out to bat against Austria, realistically, they would have pretty much known from the off they're not going to chase 196 to win. They're unlikely to get anywhere near it. They got 106 for 9. It was 10 overs that maybe had a touch of a feel of going about through the motions of things. And suddenly now to be under a pressure cooker against what I would posit is the best bowling attacking group, being one of the best bowling attacks in the tournament, is a whole other ball game.
Yes, it's quite clinical. I mean, we saw a couple of dropped chances, which were, I think they're the exception, not the rule, for the Netherlands 11. And now Hussaini's going to come out, and at that point of no return, believe it or not, 18 and over required.
You're still busy telling Sweden that.
Yeah, I said it rarely. You come back from the point of no return. It was Back to the Future 3 stuff from them. They just ran straight through it over the bridge.
Inside out from Saini. He's off the mark as well.
Well, that's out. I don't know what game you're watching, but I tell you what, he's gone bang, 2 and 2. And that was on the full. I think it's just a regulation. But tell you what, we didn't swap glasses, did we? But Demay, he does get a second. Have a look at this from Saini. This is a mid-time drive, inside out. And simple catch. So he won't get a chance for his hat-trick because he's bowled out. But Demay, very good spell, 2 for 8. Along with Clayton Floyd, between them, they've taken 5 for 18 of 4 overs, and they've wrecked the middle order. And they basically wrecked this chase for Romania.
Certainly have. It's a golden duck for Vasu Saini. Completely lost track of that one. I'm not quite sure how. But as you rightly refer to, keeping track of the possibility of another ECC hat-trick. We saw the first last week. May is not going to be able to do that, but it's all quickly falling apart now for Romania, unfortunately. Last week we didn't see a side fail to get to the half-century mark. You fear that might happen here, but coming up next is a game that I expect will be pretty even. Austria against Hungary.
That's going to be a good game, isn't it, Michael? Because you've got both teams coming off a win. They both won batting first as well. Austria dramatically scoring 195, but even Hungary got in the 130s against Portugal and defended it. So I thought it was a good toss to win. I knew whoever won it wanted to bat. And Hungary, they got that opportunity after their captain Marco Huja called correctly. So looking forward to seeing that one, and it starts right here, same place in around about 40 minutes time.
And will be just one ECC and T10 international debut for Mark Simpson-Parker, who's into the Austria 11 for that game.
Yeah, good chance to see him. I think he'll be used more as a bowler in this format. Yep. I think that's probably his role. We do see him opening the batting for his club side, but I think they've got a top order that doesn't need any help at the moment.
Short, skied up, but this one will be 6. Well, it's finally a belated boundary for Romania, who've been struggling along. They've got something to celebrate.
Nice shot by Siva. He made 31 this morning, and yeah, he's looked the best of their batsmen, I think, today. I think he's got the opportunity to bat a bit higher. I think he's coming at 5. I wouldn't mind seeing him batting open or 3.
Goes again, and gets 6 again. Well, this is magnificent hitting from Perialwa, and if he can manage quite a few more where that came from, we might still have a game on, folks. Bang, bang.
in the slot from Klein. And hopefully that side screen's made of stern stuff because that ball bounced straight off it. Nice shot.
Well, there hadn't been a boundary in 16 balls before that pair of consecutive sixes that have ruined Klein's figures. And now he goes through square leg. This could be 6 or out. It is out, caught in just off the backward square leg rope. So Perry Alwa's fun ends, and Romania are 54 for 7. Klein has won the war, despite Perry Alwa winning a couple of battles.
Yeah, well, the window just crept open a little bit there, but it gets slammed shut by the Netherlands 11. He just doesn't get quite enough of this. I thought for a second it still might carry the boundary, but it was a nice catch taken out there. Just knew exactly where he was on the field. So Perry Alwa goes 6, 6 and out. Nice catch by Victor Lubbers as well, down a deep backward square. And the score now is 54 for 7.
So out comes Rajesh Kumar, who was very impressive in the field. A couple of direct hits. He was very, very bright. As Perry Alwa heads off 15 of 7. That's decent enough knock actually in T10. A couple of sixes in there. It's the struggles of his teammates around him that have caused their problems in chasing 97.
I'd like to see him up the top of the order and just see what he can do, because technically I think he's got one of the better techniques to hold up at the top of the order. Siva Perry Alwa. Raj Kumar comes out to bat at number 9.
Short, and that will be just 1. So end of the over, 55 for 7. Klein concedes 25 and does pick up a wicket from his pair of overs, and it's a very unlikely 42 to win off 12 for Romania.
Yeah, well, they need a massive over, don't they? I mean, I'd say that Ejaz Hussain, he's a non-striker's end. He does open the batting regularly for his club side, and yeah, I mean, maybe a chance that if he gets going, he's capable of that kind of magical over, but it's just been fairly clinical, I think, from the Netherlands. Yes, they dropped a couple of catches. I think maybe the sun was a factor. There was one that was required the fielder to run a long way towards the boundary with the flight of the ball. But when it's come down to it, they've looked very assured in this innings. And if you're winning games when you don't play well, that's always a good sign.
Tried a slow ball bouncer, but given us wide by umpire Shub. Back at the death, as predicted, the captain Sebastian Bratt, who's had his club cricket for Hermes since he was a 16-year-old. He's been skipper there for 5 years. I think he's a man who will be very used to being in this leadership position that he's been handed for this competition. So that's nicely bowled again from Bratt. And now it does look like we're into sort of dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Yeah, and they've got Krusty to close the show as well. And he bowled the first one, Viv Kingma. Expect him to come and scare some tail enders in the last over. So it's not going to be easy at all. See how many Romania can put on the board.
Slow ball again, very clever from Bratt, and as much as he's got all these brilliant variations, without needing to tell him how to bowl at all, one would suggest that a good Yorker might well be the end of Rajesh Kumar here.
This was almost the end, wasn't it? And he missed by a stump. And Netherlands, that'll be better for the run. They'll come back in the final match of the day. They say him playing 2 matches every day in this group stage.
Effort ball. They thought of one, but it wasn't there. Rajesh Kumar skipping back after realising that he had Sebastian Bratt running straight at him. Very exciting time for Dutch cricket at the moment. Of course, got themselves into that ODI league that gave them the opportunity to have top-tier fixtures against the big teams. Coronavirus has somewhat made that more difficult, but they did beat Ireland 2-1 on home soil. They've got a trip to South Africa in November, a trip to New Zealand next March, and then a tantalising home summer with ODI series against Pakistan, the West Indies and England. I will pick up one more. All of those 3-match ODI series for Ryan Campbell and his men, which will give them that top-level exposure.
It's great to watch Dutch cricket coming along in leaps and bounds. You know, certainly they are the leader as far as continental Europe is concerned in the cricket world, and I think it's great to watch their progress. And you get better by playing better teams. So this game will make the Romanians better as well.
Shorter and pulled away, but again straight to keep backwards square leg. In terms of their coaching staff here, the Netherlands 8. They've got Shane Dietz here, the women's head coach, as well as Tim de Leyder, who's something of a legend of Dutch cricket. Jammed away by Kumar. And it says a lot as well about how much cricket is progressing as we come to the end of that 9th over, 59 for 7. Bratt finishing with 1 for 14. That we've got 4 Dutch teams in action in different parts of the world on the men's side of the game at the same time.
Oh, it's for sure. I think it's brilliant for Dutch cricket. The more high-level experience you get, the better. So 59 for 7, just creeping above a run of ball, but not by much. That was a nice Yorker by Bratt to finish off. That's what makes his slower balls more effective. If he does jam in that Yorker now and then, just keeps the batsman off pace or off their timing. And it will be the man I'm referring to in an affectionate way is Krusty, because of his giant shoes. I played cricket with some big fast bowlers. I don't think I've ever seen shoes that big. And he's got the hairdo as well. Viv Kimmer is going to close this one out. And so this is what I remember my coach used to say, look, everyone can win games when they're playing well. This is a game I think Netherlands have been a bit off and they've still got the business done.
His first ball back with his size 14 feet. Just another single, and the lack of boundaries has been very noticeable here for Romania. There's been 4 sixes and 2 fours in the entire innings. And it looks like they could, beat is the wrong word, but take Luxembourg's record for the lowest score in the tournament.
Some people are thinking that Kimmer looks a bit like Daniel Vittori. Just bowling pace. What do you think? He's got the glasses on. Daniel Vittori? Good look-alike.
Nicely bowled and nicely played. Luxembourg managing 72 for 7 against Norway, batting first in match 14 last Wednesday afternoon. They also managed 72 all out against Norway on the Thursday afternoon.
Let me get your crystal ball out, Michael. Looking ahead to the next game, Austria versus Hungary, 2 teams that won this morning. Who do you think is going to come up out on top in that one?
Austria definitely started the favourites, but it's a pretty even contest. Slow ball, not the first time in this match you see the classic slow ball grunt. What I would say is Austria did smash 195 for 4, but you would expect that the Hungary bowling attack is going to give them a more difficult challenge than what they faced from Romania.
It was a mixture of very good batting, but poor bowling.
Yeah.
Monotonous bowling from Romania, who tuned that department up very well in this game. It hasn't been the bowling that's been the issue. Oh, this is where we just need no disrespect to Kumar, but if he gets out, we'll probably see Pavel for a couple of balls to Kingma.
It's gone through as well, and that is an outstanding bit of wicket-keeping from Asad Zulfikar, who just had to keep going and going down the leg side to try and somehow take this, and he did.
Yeah, it was jammed into the ground. That's outstanding keeping. I mean, that's full left dive, then has the presence of mind to throw again. Hits the toe of the bat on the full, straight into the ground. Say 4 runs. So, Netherlands finishing in style.
You mentioned Pavel Florin did get 2 ball 0 not out in that game against Austria early on. Straight up, and it's going to land just about safe. 3 different fielders converging on it. Nobody could get there.
Bermuda Triangle situation. They came from all angles. Kumar triangulated it perfectly. He survives. It's had a bit of a tough time against this high-quality Netherlands attack. So go down to the last ball. Romania, they're going to be stuck in the 60s.
So we'll be by some distance the lowest score of this tournament so far. It's a shame for Romania because they did so much right in this game. I'm not sure we'll see anyone else keep the Netherlands to 96 in this tournament. The last ball will be straight back to Kingma. Regulation stuff from him. He ends up conceding just the 4 runs from his 2 overs. That is the most economical spell we've seen from a bowler across this entire tournament. And it's the bowlers who've got the Netherlands 11 out of jail here because they managed to post only 96 for 3. Romania finished 62 for 7. So it is the Netherlands 11 who get a winning start. Victors here by 34 runs.
And muted celebrations from the Netherlands. They know they've got a long way to go. As do the Romanians, who've had a bit of a horror first day. They're 0-2. They do have time to make up. Still 6 matches left for the men in yellow. And, well, the Netherlands, you expect them to be a high-quality outfit in the field and with the ball. They certainly had their plans. They executed. And that was a nice shot nailed by Taranjit Singh down the ground. And cautiously optimistic, weren't they, the Romanians? This is one that went down, the first of a couple that actually did get grass. It was a tough one for Clayton Floyd. Had to run a long way with the flight of the ball. And no one saw this one coming either. But apart from that, Romania, the odd highlight, but ultimately they were just strangled by this Netherlands attack who were very disciplined with the ball.
It was an outstanding bowling display. Really gave them nothing, and it was particularly when spin came in that it really, really did start to fall apart for Romania. But early on, a couple of uncharacteristic fielding errors from the Dutch. Nothing Brad could do about that one that was a couple of yards over the rope. But then Floyd came in, and, well, he quite literally spun the game the Netherlands' way. 3 for 10 from his pair of overs, including that caught and ball that he juggled somewhat. This unusual bit of wicket keeping.
Yeah, but if he hustles back there, he probably gets home. It's decent, but he went, and then it was a succession of wickets. A bit of a revolving door for the Romanians as they just struggle to get any momentum going whatsoever. But like I said, it's a different world, I think, at this level for Romania. I see some of the batsmen just not quite able to pull off the heroics that we see them achieving the ECS at this level. But again, I think they'll get better. I think Periawa, he nailed a couple, and he's looked very good for me. He looks like one batsman that can handle the heat. But saw some slip sliding around, and in the end, the Netherlands 11, well, they're off to a winning start. That's all that counts. W's in the book for them. And Romania, they're 0-2. Coming up next, the battle of the winners from earlier today. Austria against Hungary. Their Austrian team will have to chase this time. They put 195 on the board in the first match of the day against the Romanians. Hungary winning the toss, electing to bat first. We'll see Zishan, Kukakel and Marco Huja opening the batting. And that game, a little bit of a break. It's around 25 minutes time right here on ECN. But Michael, what would you say about this chase? Romania, well, no one passed 15, and in the end, they more or less staggered to 62 off their 10 overs.
3 players getting into double figures, but even when you're chasing a relatively modest 97, you're going to need a couple of contributions of significance, and they just never got it, did they? And you can see that middle order that was pulled apart by Clayton Floyd. 3 wickets for Floyd and 2 for DeMay, and ultimately Romania end up with the lowest score of this brand new European Cricket Championship so far. The bowling figures very, very good to look at from a Dutch point of view. Klein got hit for back-to-back sixes, which is why he ended up conceding 25, but DeMay and Kingma both go for single figures in terms of runs conceded. 5 wickets for 18 runs off the 4 overs from the spinners Floyd and DeMay, and that is the reason, more than anything else, as to why the Netherlands 11 have won this game against Romania by 34 runs. So it's a winning start for them. They'll be back later on against Portugal. Romania with 2 losses from today. Clayton Floyd man of the match for his 3 for 10.
Yeah, they turned off the oxygen in those middle overs, didn't they? So join us in around about 20 minutes time. We will be back. The table is taking shape. 3 of the teams have experienced victory. 3 different teams in the first 3 matches. But join us soon. You can also go to our website, EuropeanCricket.com. But for now, this is Vinny Sander, Mr. Maximo, along with Michael McGann. Rico Bull will be back with me shortly in the commentary box. Hope you're enjoying the day wherever you're watching around the world. This is ECN, and you're watching the Dream 11 European Cricket Championship.